Currently in my London session hours. What's going on, Keys and Queens? Hope you all having a blessed, beautiful, and amazing day. I want to share with you guys the very simple process that I personally followed that allowed me to build my trading strategy the way that it is, and certain tips that you could potentially apply to building your strategy. So before the technicals even come into play, what I personally did was once I grasped and understood the language of trading, so that means learning from courses, learning from mentors, learning from YouTube, and all those things like that. And I knew the aspects of what technical analysis is. I knew what support resistance is, candlesticks, market structure. I knew that. That's when I personally stopped watching the courses, stopped watching the YouTube videos, stopped listening to everybody, basically put myself in a isolation period. And my only focus was coming on the charts, live trading, back testing, and seeing what works for me and what doesn't. So I stopped going to Instagram and YouTube and looking at everybody else's videos, their life, and X, Y, and Z, and I just focused on mine. So that's number one. Building a strategy is actually very, very simple and easy, and this is literally all I did. This is not about to be a 30-minute video. This is about to be like a 5-minute video. I identify the key components in my strategy that I wanted to have, and I would break down those into each category, and I would specifically focus on one thing until it got to the point where it was second nature to me. And then once I understood that concept, then I went to the next, and then I went to the next. And then once I had all three, which I'll tell you guys in a second, but once I had all three, then that's when I decided to put everything together. So this is what I mean, right? So the three components of my trading is market structure, support resistance, and candlesticks. So what I did was I started off with support resistance. I would come on the charts and I would literally mark up my key areas. Boom, boom, mark up my key areas. Let's do another one out here. But let's say, for example, boom, I'll mark up my key areas. Let's do another one right here. So I'll mark up my key areas on my 4 hour and my 1 hour time frame. And then once I did that, then I would literally just erase it, go back some more, boom, and I would do the exact same thing. I would come over here, let's say I'll mark off this area, mark off this area, mark off this resistance range, this support resistance range right here, mark off this range right here, and I would go back in time again and I would do the exact same thing over and over again. And for me, I didn't stop doing this till it got to the point because I used to always put myself in a position of, let's say, for example, you had 10,000 people watching you, right? And one of your followers, one of your viewers, they said, "Hey, yo, Seer, could you go to GBP AUD and mark it up?" And I would go to GBP AUD and I would just give myself a bunch of random pairs. And if I would go to this pair and I was looking at GA and I'm like, should I draw it right here? Like it was taking me much longer to mark it up and explain it. Then that shows me I was like, all right, I need to keep on back testing this some more. I don't have it to the point where I can just say it off top. And then once it got to the point where I was able to come to like a pair, like a random pair GA, boom, mark off this area, boom, mark off this area. Okay, we got another resistance range right here in this area. Then we got this next resistance range, support resistance range, boom, right here. Look at left. You got this area up here. Boom. But if I was able to, and these are actually key areas, but if I was able to do this, I'd be like, all right, cool. Go to, I don't know, Ethereum USD, right? Let's go to Ethereum. I would go to Ethereum and I would do the exact same thing. Okay, boom. And it got to the point where I was able to just come to the charts and just to mark up these areas like it was nothing. And it was easy for me to simply mark up these areas. Boom, 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 boom. And then once I got that aspect down, I would stop. I would say, okay, I got this. I would stop doing support resistance and I would go to the next one, which is market structure. And I would literally just keep on, and I wasn't focused on no support resistance, no candlesticks, just pure market structure. And this is black charts. I personally love trading with black charts because you see clear structure. It's not red, blue, all the different colors. And it fits best for me and my strategy. A quick, like a very, very, very good gym because it just takes away all the extra noise and you can just literally just focus on market structure. But I would literally focus on market structure low, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, higher low, and then price comes up. And I'm like, okay, cool, price broke above here, but this isn't a clear breaker structure because this lower high was not confirmed yet. Price would have to actually break below the low and continue to keep trading bearish. Then this lower high would form. But right now at this point right here, when price broke above, I knew the overall trend was bearish. So I would literally do this, analyze this specific area right here, and I will move over some more, analyze the key lower lows, lower high points, boom, and I would do it some more. Obviously, I would do it on the lower time frames as well too, but I'm just showing you guys a very, very simple way. And then once I got that same exact process, and then the candlesticks was the last thing for me. And candlesticks were actually easy for me because I already learned what candlesticks was. I used the same exact candlesticks over and over and over again. So I didn't need to learn candlesticks. Once I had all three of those, that's when a very, very simple part came into play. That's when I would combine all three of those together. So we'll stay right here on Ethereum, for example, right? So I would come to the charts and I would mark up my support resistance, boom. Then I will mark up my resistance. Let's mark off one right here, and I'll just mark off one right here. So I will mark off my support resistance. So that's one. And then the next thing would be going along with the market structure. What is the trend? So let's say at this point in time right here, we see this. We know the overall trend from this aspect of things right here is bearish. So what I would do is I would only look for sells going with the market structure because it's bearish. I would only look for sells at an area of resistance because you take sells at resistance, and I would only look for bearish candlesticks at that resistance, and that's literally all I did. And I'm doing this on the 4-hour time frame just so I can break it down in very, very simple terms. But let's say, for example, boom, an evening star at this area of resistance and this downtrend, I would enter this trade here, boom, and then ride it down to the next area, next key support, because I trade from level to level, and I would just keep on doing that over and over and over. And that is it. That is how I build my strategy. It's not complicated, nothing more to it. The biggest thing about it is just getting as many reps in as I possibly could. I would literally study every single day, and I would not put a time limit on it. And I didn't move until the next one until I knew that I had it like it was the back of my hand. So until I was able to go through, like, let's say 10 pairs, 15 pairs in a row and not mess up on none of them, that's when I was like, nah, I'm still going to keep on doing this. And once I was able to do that, then I went to the next. And then once I started putting everything together and I got familiarized with that, that's when I started applying it as much as I possibly could live. So I wasn't focusing on trying to make a whole bunch of money. No, I was focused on building confidence and consistency with my strategy. Hopefully this video did help you guys. If you guys want to learn more in depth on how I trade, make sure to check out the link in the description. Let me know if there's any other videos you guys want me to make. But I honestly love making this content. Very, very simple, straight to the point, because trading is really simple. Trading should not be complicated. And there's so many ways out there to trade. You have to see what works best for you. Love you all so much, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.